We have with us Mr. A.K. Roy, CMD of India's largest reinsurer, GIC. Mr. Roy, firstly, thanks for sparing this time. To begin, if I could ask you, first quarter is over in this fiscal. How do you look at this particular fiscal in terms of your top line, bottom lines? Also, now what we have faced in Uttarakhand, one of the worst natural calamities that the country has witnessed of lately, how would it affect your balance sheet and your growth plans?
See, it will be too early for us to commit anything on the first quarter because our accounts are still to be finalized. As regards Uttarakhand floods, it has been one of the largest such calamity that we have seen in the recent past, and some of the damages are of the enormous proportion. We have had a view of some of the videos and audio and the still photographs of some of the projects, and it is unbelievable to see the extent of damages that has happened. In fact, in Uttarakhand area, more than 250 hydel projects were in different stage of development, and some of them have been totally damaged. It will take a long time for those projects to even restart. The surveyors who have gone there for the first time, they have only come back with one report that it's a huge effort that is required to remove the debris and the boulders that has in some cases submerged the entire project work, and it's going to be a long time before the work can restart. As regards quantum of loss that will be travelling to us, as per initial estimates, the loss is to the tune of 13,000 odd crores, of which our liability could be anything between 25 to 30%. So what
And
we
these
are
are all primarily all big infrastructure projects, as you mentioned.
hydel power projects basically, because that is the only projects that were covered there. As regards the damage to roads and other properties, those will be roads are normally not covered, not insured, and other houses, some of them might have been insured by the private parties, for which the details are not yet known.
And in terms of your growth, how are you looking at this fiscal in terms of your top lines and bottom lines?
This year growth will be under stress for GIC for one reason is that obligatory business has been reduced to 5%, which will directly have an impact on our top line. So far as the bottom line is concerned, we are continuously working for it for last 2 years, and some of the results are already becoming visible, and we have no doubt on that we'll have a better bottom line when we close this financial year.
But what would be in terms of say growth, double digit that you're looking, single digit, how are you looking at it?
This year there could be a degrowth on top line.
Okay, what was it last year and how?
Last year we closed 15,000 crore plus.
So you see a degrowth happening in this fiscal?
It is partially intentional, because we weeded out a lot of loss making businesses, which will have impact, but it will give us an enormous improvement in our bottom line.
Bottom line somewhere was around 2,000 crore plus last fiscal, if I am right. What are you looking at in terms of growth this fiscal?
Last year we had a profit of 2,345 crore net. This year we are expecting a profit of more than 2,500 crore.
Okay. So you also aggressively are looking for expansion plans when it comes to overseas. Not only opening some subsidiaries, but also you are in talk with some big global players like Lloyd's to try and expand your that is GIC in many other international locations. What is the roadmap on this expansion plan? Where does it stand at this point of time?
See, reinsurance basically is a global business, and the company which has bigger spread of their business gets a more stable business volume. So we are continuously working for a growth plan, and there we are working on certain projects right now. It normally takes a longer duration to fructify. This year our subsidiary will start operating in the country Bhutan, which is a neighboring country. We are also working on couple of projects in South Africa and Brazil, and we are hopeful that it will also come to some concrete shape by this end of this year. So far as our efforts to get into Lloyds are concerned, we have already started working on that very seriously. We will be taking the first steps very soon. Our roadmap for Lloyds is to ultimately have our own syndicate in Lloyds, which will be a slightly longer duration objective, because entry into Lloyds through a syndicate will require sufficient amount of time for maturing to that level. Right now what we will be doing is taking the first steps of getting into maybe some quota share business in the Lloyds.
Okay. And if I could ask you, have you set any roadmap, say 3 to 5 years, this is the kind of international operation business that you want GIC's balance sheet to have? Any roadmap you have set in or any targets?
See, GIC actually had drawn a 20-year business plan in the year 2008. In that business plan, it was stated that by 2015, GIC should achieve a business mix of 50% domestic and 50% overseas. We are hopeful that we will be achieving that target 1 year before the time schedule that was set. Our business is expected to be 50-50 by the time we close this financial year.
Okay, in terms of value, how much that would be, if you could just share that number?
So last year we closed about 15,000 crore. This year, even with the degrowth, we are expecting to be around 14,000 crore, which means that 7,000 will come from overseas and 7,000 will be the domestic business.
Okay, and if I could ask you, looking at on the domestic market, the way things are, you are also actively working out to come out with a TPA, particularly for the PSU companies. Where is that particular project? How soon do we see that TPA being in place and functional?
This TPA company actually was the brainchild of the 4 PSUs which are active in India. They wanted to have a servicing arm for their health business. GIC has joined that venture with equity participation of 5%. The company is already in the advanced stage of incorporation, so much so that they are expecting their certificate by 15th of this month. Once that certificate of incorporation is received, it will be conducting its first board meeting anytime, maybe just after 15th August.
Okay. And so quickly, last couple of questions if I could ask you. One, on the regulatory aspect, what are, say, being the largest general life insurer, how do you look at the regulatory framework? What would be the biggest challenge for you at this point of time when it comes to regulations? And B, if I could ask you, IRDA of lately has increased or given more headroom for insurance companies when it comes to making investments in equity and debt markets. How do you look at that particular aspect?
See, regulator in India has done a tremendous job of regulating the market. They have been evolving, and they are also aligning themselves with the insurance core principles that has been finalized by the body of regulators across the world. So our regulator is aligning itself to those core principles. So far as investment is concerned, insurance in the insurance operations, investment is a major part of operation, but at the same time one has to ensure that they don't take extra risk, and therefore regulator has been very conservative in giving those regulations. But gradually they are giving windows for investing into certain areas where the returns are high, but the risk is also high, and therefore these relaxations are coming in a measured quantity, and small bits. This is the appropriate way of moving into this direction.
So, but what would be, say, GIC's investable surplus, if I could ask you, what was it, say, till March 31st of last fiscal, and how much do you plan to add to that in this fiscal?
See, you have to understand how a reinsurance company function. Our fund flow is continuous, whereas the fund outflow is dependent on happening of events. So, till a event happens where we have to make a payment, we keep investing those funds into our investments, and it's a continuous process. And if we see our annual increments on to investment, roughly about 20% additional funds get invested every year
into equities.
It is bifurcated to debt and equity. In equity, we are very conservative, and mostly we invest into debt funds where the advantage of assured income is there, whereas the downside risk is less. Whereas in the equity market, though there is a chance of appreciation of capital, but there is also a high risk of downside, and therefore we invest into equity in a very measured way and a small way.
How does your portfolio stand as of now, equity and debt?
On market value basis, our total invested funds are in the order of 60,000 crore, and about 20% of that is in the equity.
And if you could just touch upon with the type of markets we are witnessing now, would equity be a good attraction for you? The kind of valuations available?
See,
do we see the investments going up this fiscal?
The Indian market has been quite volatile for last 2-3 years, but for last 1 year we have seen that the market has remained quite buoyant. But right now it is again entered into volatile phase, and it is fluctuating almost on daily basis. However, looking into the overall economy of the country, one can say that at this point of time, the equity market is actually on its lower side, and there are very good opportunities to enter into some of the blue chip companies which are today available at a very, very cheap price, because ultimately the long term view of this country is that of growth, and there is no doubt that the equity market also will keep pace with that growth, and you can make good amount of
money. I know I will be pushing you a bit, but in terms of value, can you say 1,000 crore, couple of thousand crores, that is what we can expect you to pump into the equity market this fiscal overall from your investmentable corpus?
Normally, that is the amount which normally gets invested every year.
2,000 crores, close to 2,000 crores.
Could be about 1,000 crores.
Okay. And so finally, any target, India's largest reinsurer, the type of potential that India has and the opportunity that you say you have in the global markets, where do you see GIC in the global map, say 3 to 5 years from now?
We are already amongst the top 15 reinsurance companies of the world, and our immediate target is to reach into the top 10, and that's where we are working on right now.